Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Andreas as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. This is apparently titled Worshipper by Control T. Now I don't think I've listened to this act before. Let me know if that is incorrect. Either way though, I look forward to listening through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Just a reminder before we go in there, or a note, something to note, that Andreas has kind of provided lyrics, translations for me, so I appreciate that too. Yeah, let's go. Oh, I'm liking the ambient vibes of the reverbs. So peaceful, isn't it? So soothing. Soft with the vocals and the kicks, isn't it? Oh, angelic falsetto. I mean, it's just fantastic to trade off into that different lead guitar, from the vocals. They're both great singers. And keys introduced on the sides? I like the dynamic range. I'm still trying to figure out myself personally when I do sort of studio engineering stuff, like how much depth to add for the different vocal takes. But there is a really cool thing going on here where the way they've leveled things adds a sense of dimensionality to it. Makes it seem like you're in a 3D space, if that makes any sense at all. I like how things peter around the headphones, like the toms and stuff like that. It's gorgeous, there's so much color in the harmonies. I like how things flutter around the stereo field. Phenomenal chemistry between the singers. They harmonize very elegantly. The intervals are spectacular. There's a tender nature to it, a warmth, a care, a love to it. You know, I don't understand the language, but I can feel that from it. And if that is what's being communicated here, they're doing exceptionally well. No, it's a very good song. I look forward to reading through the lyrics and figuring out more, learning more about it. So here we have the lyrics. Along the way, and we walk and hesitate. We walk and slow down. We keep things inside. We feel sorry for some things. Someone just never let go. Sometimes we miss someone we can't meet. That's an interesting line. Sometimes we miss someone we can't meet. Like, we have unrealistic expectations, you know. We have expectations that will never be met. We feel, along the way, we keep things inside. I'll wait for you my whole life. I can't let go. I'll pack it in my life and walk with it. The lights shine in your life, unit as stars, and the sky guides you. I can't walk away from the bonds that connect me. You've proven. All you need to do is pray and believe. And this is just a note that I think Andreas has put at the end. For more context about the song and the music video, the outro quote says, "We are all travelers worshipping over love through our entire life," should I say. Sorry, I'm reading off of the other screen because I've got a camera here and it's in the it's in the way of part of the text. It's something I've got to fix. But anyways, I think I kind of understand what the track is about, so we're going to go to the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Control T, titled Worshipper. Now, what do I think this track is about? I mean, I think we spoke about it in the lyrics section. It's more so about the act of like worshipping love, the concept of loving someone, allowing that idea to facilitate our part of our existence. Love is so incredibly important in this world, and I can't quite tell if it's an innate thing or a construct we've made at some point through evolution and societal structure, but it seems to be a universal thing. I think that love is spoken about here with a fondness, a little bit of sadness occasionally, but there is almost a gratitude for it. Also, a general sense of wonderment and intrigue with it as well. It's an exploration of the pathway we choose as a worshipper, as a wanderer, and how we interpret the roles we play, how we expect others to be, how we expect our relationships and interactions to be, etc. I think it's very mature and articulate and well spoken and well told, and I am thankful that I had the opportunity to read through the lyrics to be able to sort of figure that all out. The singers in this band are fantastic. Both of them, different vocal timbres, you know, not just the octave ranges, although to be fair, the guy can get into a high falsetto and just handle himself really well. Really beautiful, pure tone to the lady singer. There's really interesting approach to it. I just feel as if they both understand each other incredibly well. Again, phenomenal chemistry between the two of them. They not only stand okay on their own, but they surround each other. And it's almost like they're singing to each other. They're loving each other, you know. That comes across very authentically within the piece, and it's a very convincing performance. In all honesty, it's a track which kind of makes you wonder, you know, like with the way they're singing, the way they care and stuff like that. What inspired them to make this track, especially because it is it's definitely a track where like they've put a lot of time. Sorry, I got one of these things, little Billy Joe thing, and I've got it beside the camera, but it will not stay up for the life of me, so I have to fix little things like this in real time. It's annoying, but it's one of the perks of having stuff around your studio, I suppose. But anyways, moving on from that, I think that they tell the story again very convincingly. It's done. The emotions seem sincere, like they're feeling every word that they portray and sort of put out into the ether, and just the awareness of how they not only interact with each other, but also the rest of the arrangement and mix around them is spectacular. Phenomenal amount of dynamic range, great control of the hidden chest voice as well as their own sort of like perceived loudnesses and stuff like that. Really well done. The track at 4 minutes 40 is outside of the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot that I have, where like I think if you're below 2 minutes you might be missing some really important context, sort of lyrically or contextually, but you know, past 4 minutes you really have to figure out either a different theme, or you have to really sort of like spread out the track, have different concepts for each part, etc. You can't just have one idea and kind of loop and rinse. It just doesn't necessarily work that well. I think to the credit of Control T, we did have variations, I think, with the chord progressions and bass lines. We had a similar, no, we didn't have a similar approach at all. I take that back completely, because we had development there. If we go back to the start, you know, we have guitars and synths. Like guitars, maybe like sort of sub-layer guitars, like a Strymon reverb effect or something like that. If we go a little bit later, we have like more sort of like really kind of ambient slides there with basses and drums and stuff like that. And then we have everything come back together in that midpoint. And we even have some sort of guitar leads later on there, which are really stellar. And it's just altogether very, very well considered. It does not overextend. It has no filler. At the same time, it's not particularly minimalist. There is a lot of variations to the way the story is told and the vocals are done, which make it interesting to listen to through the various different parts, like the verses and the chorus, for example, and the bridge. I think there's also a bridge section as well, if I'm not mistaken. But credit be to the way that the instruments themselves are played. So if I talk about a few of the different instruments I really appreciated, they're the guitars. I like the fact that the guitars almost filled in as kind of a synth at times. We did just have more sort of traditional lead layers occasionally, and some interesting sort of like just sort of cleaner parts there. The effects change on them were absolutely superb. It's very well, like you can tell they're clearly experienced, and they know exactly how to get the sound that they want in a way that sort of makes it reasonably unique and meaningful. We didn't explore too many sort of crazy extensions or like wild harmonies or chromatics or accidentals within the arrangement. I think simply because we were trying to keep it nice and friendly and accessible and personable. But it was nonetheless wonderful to hear the beauty and the pristine tone of the guitars throughout the track in whichever form they were. The bass was relatively more like low-key and sort of it simmered and was more controlled and refined, and I like that. When I say refined, I don't mean that the guitar was completely all over the place, but what I mean was it's not trying to be in your face as much as like the kind of the mid to high range resonances on those guitars and the reverbs and such. The bass is there to kind of sit with the drums and just provide a sort of a foil in regards to, in regards to the frequency spectrum to like the higher vocals that were happening in those bits. Following the chord progressions and harmonies really well with the root notes. The drums were, they were relatively minimalist and restrained throughout the majority of it, coming up a little bit in some of the hooks and stuff like that, but ultimately it was more of just a way of establishing a pace, and there were little adjustments to it throughout, but it was more of a track where like there was like a focus purely or specifically on the vocals. And I think, even with how much interesting stuff there was going on with the guitars and the bass and stuff like that, it was just more of a situation where we needed to tell that tale, and the drums supported it when they pocketed, but not a note out of place. The keys that came in like the halfway point of the second verse at the very least were charming, mid to high register on the sides there. We had some interesting tom bits. The stereo field, the exploration of the stereo field was absolutely sensational. We had different parts of the kit in different bits, different piano parts in different bits. We played well with the triads and the relative scale shapes and modes of the chords that were available. Again, without trying to sort of strike too many dissonances, but it was about how things kind of like swam around, like you were considering and commiserating about all this stuff in your own head. It encouraged you to be introspective, in a sense, by the use of the placement of these different sort of tones and concepts alone. The composition, the theme in general, with that in mind, with the major focus, but without being too sort of overblown with its positivity there. There was some sad bits of sadness there, but there are occasional sort of minor notes and a sea of peace and stability and acceptance. The use of the different tones and textures within the instrumental parts that were within the performance as well. It's not just a post-production thing, it's the choice of instruments within the composition, the arrangement itself were soft, and it was like a warm fuzzy blanket. And I think that, coupled with the fact that the music had this sort of sense of dimensionality with the sub layers and layers, again, that's quite probably as much as a production thing as a compositional thing, but you felt like you were being surrounded by the music in that warmth and that fluffy blanket. I think that was really special. When I think about what they were singing about in the track and I compare it to how the main theme sounded of the tune, I think there is a connection there, and I think it's very well done. The studio recording, mixing and mastering, I think that's very, it's commercial grade. The dynamic range was absolutely superb. Use of layers and sub-layers with the mixing and leveling was phenomenal. Nice wind and stereo feel with different elements and different bits there, really encouraging you to sort of explore the world around you when you wear these headphones. I thoroughly recommend listening to this track with headphones if you're not already. Listening to it on like a phone speaker or a laptop doesn't necessarily do it the same amount of justice. You need to be kind of locked into it to really sort of appreciate the finer details, in my humble opinion. There were no resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. Things were really clean and niche nicely there. And it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression limiting was handled well. And I think just with the vocals, because I tend to talk to vocals at the end for some reason, the vocals were absolutely top notch. Phenomenal performance, very little modulation or sort of screwing around with them to get them to sound away, which is, they're just really great singers and they captured really great takes. And I think they would be proud of themselves, because this is my review of this track from an act named Control T, titled Worshipper, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show some love to these musicians via their various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And just before I finish, lyrics like, I walk into the darkness of the midnight, the night lights shine all night, uniting as stars in the sky, guide you again and again, no matter if you know the purpose of life. It's just so conversational. That's the last thing I'll say before we do our full outro, or the remainder of the outro, because I know I've kind of paused it awkwardly. I just want to thank Control T for trying to have a genuine conversation and not trying to sort of front and kind of stab at our attention and kind of drag us away and stuff like that. I think it's very well done. But, stay cool, shredders. Spiderhands out.